Welcome to Our Region's Business with your host, Bill Flanagan.
Today on Our Region's Business, a local startup rolls out an app to make it easier to monitor brain performance. Plus, students at Point Park University are improving their financial IQs by taking a new course. But first, a new public-private partnership is creating a market for our region's natural gas at transit agencies across the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. A Texas company called Trillium recently cut the ribbons at compressed natural gas fueling stations in Beaver and Newcastle counties. They're 2 of 6 public fueling stations the company is building here in our region with Larson Design Group of Williamsport. Advocates say the approach is a win-win for gas producers, distributors, customers, and taxpayers. David Martin is the Chief Operating Officer of Larson Design Group, and welcome. Good to have you.
Thanks for having me on the program.
Yeah, so this is really a different approach to kind of doing this kind of build-out. And how does the public-private partnership figure into this?
Well, essentially, a public-private partnership is a long-term contract between the state and a private entity, where the private entity takes over some of the responsibilities that the state used to undertake and takes them over in a long-term contract where they assume some of the risk, their shared responsibility, and usually the private entity provides some of the funding for the activity.
So in this case, building out this whole network, and there are how many of these stations across the state?
There's going to be 29 stations across the state serving 1,600 transit buses.
Wow, and so what, Trillium then takes the risk, makes the capital investment to build this network, and then provides the gas through
Absolutely. They do what's called a design, build, finance, operate, and maintain. So they build the facilities at no cost to the state. They operate them. They sell the gas to the transit agency, then a lower price than you would pay for traditional fuel. The state saves money. Up to about $10 million a year. So that helps pay for all the facilities. So over 10 years, the state's going to save about $100 million. So the entire project pays for itself.
Wow, that's pretty remarkable. And where does Larson fit into all of this?
We're the engineering firm. Basically what we're doing is we're helping Trillium in collaboration with the state to build the facilities. We do all the engineering design, we coordinate with the vendors, we do the site work, we manage the program and the integration of the building systems to make sure that everything's the way it's supposed to be and according to all the building codes.
Yeah, Larson's been pretty involved with the whole natural gas industry around here since they struck gas in the Marcellus back in, what, 2004, I think, right?
Right. We've been fairly involved in the energy business across the state. We have a lot of clients. Traditionally, being from Williamsport, a lot of our clients were in that area, but we moved to Pittsburgh about 4 years ago. We're in the Wexford area, and now we're up to about 60 people in the region.
Wow.
We're growing at, the company's growing at about 19% a year since 2002, and as an employee-owned company, we're looking to expand to a number of other geographies.
And how significant, or I guess how big an opportunity to see this whole CNG world being around here in terms of for Larson and future growth?
I think the CNG program, especially in the Marcellus Shale region, is going to be a growing program. Trillium, for example, has done over 200 projects. It's a win-win for everybody in the state. For Larson Design Group, it actually is helping us to expand in different regions because we've developed this expertise. But what we see it as is an opportunity for a lot of municipalities and agencies to save money using locally sourced fuel and saving money that they won't depend on the state to provide through grants and other programs.
Yeah, and you talk about the money savings. I mean, is there like a price per gallon equivalent for natural gas versus diesel or whatever other fuels these transit agencies?
There is. It is. They do calculate it. One thing I will tell you is that for natural gas relative to a price of a gallon of traditional gasoline, it's pretty stable and it doesn't fluctuate like you see the wild swings in a price of a gallon of fuel. Even recently, you're seeing that gas prices are going up across the Commonwealth, but the price of natural gas is fairly stable.
Okay, and relative to the cost of a gallon of gas or whatever, at least at current prices.
Right, there's a reasonable reasonably good cost savings for CNG fuel relative to the price of a gallon of gas. It does fluctuate. I don't think I could give it in percentage terms, but if we look at this program, it's $100 million for the state over 10 years.
So that's significant. Now, is this going to be deployed everywhere in Pennsylvania or in particular geographies?
What we're seeing at the 29 locations, there's a significant component where it's rural regions, places like Newcastle or Johnstown, places like Johnsonburg and some of the rural communities. Right now, we're not seeing it deployed in, say, Harrisburg or Philadelphia, but we will have it in some of the bigger areas. Pittsburgh's slated to have their first CNG facility in 2021.
Now, and the gas is then provided by the local utility that just happens to serve wherever these stations are? Is that how that works?
Correct. Comes right out of the ground through a pipeline similar to what you would have at your home. It comes to the facility, it's compressed and it's stored, and then it's pumped into the vehicles.
Was this a real learning curve for Larson to figure out how to design and engineer these sorts of facilities?
At first it's a little bit frightening, but when you think about it, it's just like other types of fuel. Instead of liquid fuel, it's gas. And once you get past the fact that it's a compressed gas, a lot of the components are very similar. So when you go to a station for compressed natural gas, it's not that much different than what you would see at a traditional gas station.
Interesting. Well, and honestly, Pittsburgh engineers have been dealing with manipulating natural gas here for over a century, going all the way back to George Westinghouse and some of those original gas companies, right?
The engineering expertise in Pittsburgh is phenomenal.
Yeah. Well, excellent. Well, it's a great story and great to hear how a public-private partnership can make a great business opportunity for somebody, but also save the taxpayers a significant amount of money along the way. David Martin, COO of Larson Design. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Next up, making it easier to monitor brain performance. And yes, a local startup has come up with an app for that. Please stay with us.